Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. We got a nice full panel today. We got Brian, we got Jake, we got Tony the Calf from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We've got Rox, we've got Rick, and we've got a few things to talk about. Now, don't we? Cindy is starting out the show with what my buddy Dustin Fox has stated that there were requirements made of all of the head coach candidates in their meetings that they pull down their drawers and allow Jimmy Haslam to butt fuck them. Yeah, I feel good about the people who declined the interview, okay? Not so good about the people, I don't know what McDaniel thing was. He went through all that pain for nothing? No, what Dustin Fox said specifically was that there were conditions, and the conditions were that their game plan had to be submitted to the owner and the analytics team Friday, all right? And then they would be available to sign a letter of resignation the next day. No, then the other thing was...
Excuse me, sir, but what if it's a Thursday game?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they can't really get to... Oh, there you go. Oh, my God, it's the Devil Cat. Devil Cat, Devil Cat. I've got Topaz in here, or else,
He's such a sweetie. Look at him. Just as sweet as he can be.
That is not a sweet cat. I can speak firsthand.
Sweet.
That is not a sweet cat. That's like
that
rabbit's dynamite, right, Brian?
that cat's plotting somebody's demise right about now.
The way Rox is holding him, I think it's the opening to the Lion King. It's no, somebody. Can't do that one.
So, at any rate, yeah, the other thing was that on Monday they had to be subjected to hours-long processes with the owners and the analytics team. Now you know why Friday and Monday are the 2 days Deep Podesta will be in town. Just to torment Kevin Stefanski, which probably isn't the worst thing in the world. I know how I could sum up Kevin Stefanski's hire in as few words as possible. Thank you, Mr. Haslam.
May I have another?
You know what it's not like? It's like, what was his name in Leave It to Beaver? That
Beaver
aggravating neighbor kid, Eddie Haskell.
Haskell.
Yeah, that's Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, thank you for the
Who
opportunity.
ended up dying first, actually, of the three kids.
I won't fuck your wife, I promise, and I'll do the best I can to listen to you and lose. That is what Dustin Fox said. And there were also other things that Dustin Fox reported today on 92.3, including the presence of a whiteboard in the corporate offices in which people were overheard, Haslam being one of them, saying, no, that guy can't work with this guy, and this guy can't work with that guy. And it's like, oh, never mind the fact that none of them have done the fucking job before. It's like, can they get along and play nice together? Or in other words, will they be subjugated at my feet? That is really what we're talking about here. You can have your opinion any way you want your opinion about Kevin Stefanski, and I'm sure Tony the Calf is thrilled that he's gone, because Minnesota fans always, when the last thing that's in your mouth, the taste of your mouth, is a loss, then people are going to say bad things about whoever was there, and Zimmer would be one of them, and obviously Stefanski another one, and then Kirk Cousins, who's in a recurring losing role off Broadway. And then you have, the choking Ravens. Don't you love Marlon Humphreys? Don't you love a guy who really goes out of his way to endear himself to an organization and to his teammates? Yeah, we get into the playoffs every year and we choke. That's our destiny. I guess that's exactly what we've proven to be. Thank you for that, Marlon. Appreciate it. But now people are questioning Lamar Jackson after that fantastic year. So the last thing that you're only as good as the last thing you did. And what were the good things that Kevin Stefanski did? He left Minnesota, so that's a good thing, I suppose. But coming to Cleveland, no, that's not one of the things that I'm particularly happy about. But be that as it may, he's the head coach in a manner of speaking. We're going to start out the show with the brief synopsis by each panelist on what they think of the Stefanski hire going in. Here we go with Brian. Go.
Freddie K 2.0 coming live and in person.
All right. Jake?
I mean, we snubbed McCarthy last year, and we snubbed everyone else we wanted because we rushed to get Kitchens, and this is what we get.
All right. Tony?
Disaster. And you may call me a little bit bitter about him while we ended, but he wasn't even our first choice for an offensive coordinator. We wanted Gary Kubiak, who was at the time supposedly going to be the Broncos offensive coordinator. So we signed Stefanski, and then Kubiak never went to be the offensive coordinator, so we brought him in as an advisor. So I think this is a giant mistake coupled with everything that, analytics and all this shit. Feel bad. I really do for him. I feel bad for the guy.
Joe Thomas is on Prozac. Why do you think he stayed so long with the Browns? He's on Prozac.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got rose-colored glasses on.
He loved the hire.
Yeah, well, he's never going to see the light. Believe me. By now, he's so brain damaged. Anyway, Rox, in a few words.
Well, I don't really understand the strategy of hiring people who don't have head coach experience, but I'm very hopeful, and I'm hoping for the best next season. We'll see how he does.
Oh, isn't that Susie Sunshine? Oh, jeez. Please make that stop. Go ahead. Make the face now full screen. Go ahead, Susie Sunshine.
Picture yourself on a boat on a river.
Rick, it's your turn.
So we hired a former offensive coordinator, and apparently we've set the bar for quarterback excellence at Kirk Cousins and Case Keenum. Good luck, Baker.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. It's like, and Kevin Stefanski had a real big role in the big season of Case Keenum. It's like the big season of Case Keenum. Whatever happened to Randolph Scott? I mean, I don't know. Case Keenum, I'm not. And Kirk Cousins, yeah. Look, you can't make something out of somebody they're not. What he has done is he created and utilized an offensive scheme that kind of put extra pressure on teams doing cover twos and cover fours. So at least so that I've done my homework. What they did basically is they overburdened the safety in the scheme so that teams were at a shortage in the secondary, and a lot of broken off patterns, higher percentage completion kinds of patterns, and it led to fewer step in front of, what do they call those types of interceptions, where the guy steps right in front of the guy and picks it off, because the safety is being burdened and he has to choose one guy as opposed to the other. If the read is there isn't a guy in the line of sight to intercept the pass. It results in fewer interceptions.
Jumping the route,
thank you.
I was going to say yet another.
Yeah, jumping the shark, I think, is also an expression. So that's the claim to fame of Stefanski. And Tony, you watched every single game. I really tried not to. But realistically, I mean, from a balanced perspective, what is the good and the bad of Kevin Stefanski as an offensive coordinator?
I think there's going to be some good. Who's beating the shit out of their keyboard?
That would probably be Rocks.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
Jeez.
because she.
She's leaking information to Mary Kay Cabot.
Caveman.
Who do you think your
No.
reliable source has been all this time?
There you go.
I think there is some really good in it because we were really dependent on the run, which we have one of the top 5 running backs in Dalvin Cook, and which is good for the Browns because you have arguably the best running back in the league in Nick Chubb. Not so big on screen passes, so I don't think Kareem Hunt will be back. Wide receiver wise, we had
Diggs.
Diggs and Thielen, two of the top
Right.
receivers in the game. You have Landry and Beckham. I think the offensive strategy is going to be the same. Now, it's all dependent. You hope Baker Mayfield isn't Kirk Cousins 2.0.
Well,
I mean, Cousins had a great statistical year, but does he have the confidence to not, be more than just have great stats?
I
Does
think
he have the extra
basically.
oomph?
I guess what I looked at were the fact that Cousins averaged throwing somewhere in the range of 27 passes a game. So they were very run-centric, the Vikings, and that did help him be more selective in the routes that he was throwing, and he was more efficient. Actually, his average completion went up 1.4 yards, despite the fact that he threw the ball only, I believe it was 444 times last year, and that was compared to over 500 the previous season. So
Very
reps were
reliant
going
on tight ends too. I'll tell you that. So look for the Browns to get some better tight ends in there because we have Diggs and the Minneapolis Miracle
They make
play.
good use of Rudolph too.
Yeah, Rudolph. You look for them. Probably, I don't know what the sentiment in the organization is with Njoku, but he's probably your Kyle Rudolph clone, in essence. That he's big. I don't know how his hands are. I don't really care to pay attention to how David Njoku plays on the fucking field, but.
Hey, El Presidente, a big moo at you, big furry moo head coming at you. Good to see you back in the chat. Yeah, we're all trying to recover from all of this. Tony is our resident Minnesota Vikings expert, which is handy because now we're finding out that our general manager might come from there as well.
And defensive coordinator. You guys are going to be Minneapolis fucking East.
Oh, God, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. Honest to God.
And there's talk that...
Next, they're going to be sending us Ilhan Omar to vote for.
Take her.
No, I'll tell you what the next thing would be. Instead of jumping in the lake, they'll be fishing in the lake.
Yeah, ice fishing in the lake.
Jeez. Yeah, so if you didn't hear, if you were living in a cave, Dodd, the guy from Indianapolis, backed out. He said, and that's because Saleh didn't get the job, and he was going to be Saleh's choice, I think. And so
Instead
now
of Sophie's choice?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't she commit suicide in the end of that?
I don't know.
I think so.
It's been 30-something years since I've seen that movie.
I couldn't. She had a very convincing Polish accent, except she was too smart. That's wrong. This is the Kevin Stefanski show, and I'm sorry. I apologize. I just can't behave.
Oh, behave.
Oh, God. Yeah, so I guess we're now down to Andrew Berry.
No, boy.
And, the sweeter the juice.
Chuck Berry.
We might be better off with Chuck Berry.
Yeah, Frank
On the
and
other
Berry.
hand, he might be drilling holes
Boo
in
Berry.
the women's bathrooms.
Frankenberry.
Oh, my God. Andrew Berry again. This is like the boomerang of pain. This is just like...
Hey, we could be getting Andrew Berry from ESPN.
It's gratuitous. It's absolutely gratuitous that we have to sit through this more than once. Now, I'll tell you another thing that I saw. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but it popped into my head. Do any of you guys watch the NFL Network?
No.
No, I don't get that.
Try to avoid that.
Yeah.
There's
Try to
a
avoid
guy
that.
on there, and he's got the biggest fucking ears I've ever seen in my life. He looks like he's got Pee Wee Herman ears. You know,
Like he can pick up DirecTV with his fucking.
exactly.
No, like he doesn't even. He is his own boarding pass.
Like Adam Silva ears.
he was
he's got
actually-
to register those fuckers with the FAA.
He was cast for the Dumbo movie. I mean, we're talking, I mean, big league years. But this guy, what an idiot he is. And he's a Cleveland Indians fan, honest to God. I was reading about him, and he tried to do an impression of Chris Myers, the ESPN guy. I was watching this, and he had... oh, come on, help me with the who's the big inside info guy for NFL Network?
Schefter? No.
No.
That'd be ESPN.
Yeah.
Rappaport?
Ian Rappaport.
Rappaport?
Yeah, Ian Rappaport, right. So he has Rappaport on a split screen with him, and he makes he was trying to do like a clever little segue, and he made reference to a player who got hit in the nutsack, okay? And it was the most awkward thing. You should have seen Ian Rappaport's face, because this guy goes, yeah, that guy got hit in the jewels, and now I'm going to hit you up for some information here, Ian. and Ian is like, are you comparing me to somebody's crotch? What are you doing here? And Dumbo's sitting there, and right after, like halfway through, he couldn't leave it alone. The guy's so stupid, he couldn't leave it alone. He goes, I was just kind of making a joke and trying to do a bad Chris Myers impression. It's like, I know, please get on with it. And you can see Ian Rappaport is like, oh God, we're caught in this loop, like the Andrew Berry loop. That's how I gotta bring it all together. It's the horrible Andrew Berry loop. And which says Sashi Brown, nothing says Sashi Brown better than Andrew Berry. So now we have the analytics that I told you was going to happen, and Jimmy Haslam is firmly in control, which is what he wanted to have happen. And as far as the rest of us, we're shit out of luck, because we're going to watch the approved game plan. And what's going to happen? See, the thing that really bothers me is now there's this division on Twitter, which there always is, and they're saying, so now it's a bad thing that the analytics department gets to share the game plan on Friday. And I'm saying, no, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but what happens if they don't agree with it? Nobody has yet come on Twitter and answered my fucking question, so I'll ask it again. If Friday comes around and he hands the game plan over and they go, yeah, okay, what's going to happen? They're all going to rush into the practice facility and say, oh, we're going to start practicing just like Freddie did. Plays we've never practiced. That's what we're going to run on Sunday. I mean, how does that work?
We'll go to the shuffle pass offense of Freddie Kitchens.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'm trying to figure out what the point is of that. If you have a problem with first of all, if you showed the game plan to Jimmy Haslam and to D. Podesta, what do they know about football? What do they know? I mean, they don't even know. I mean, it was the simplest thing in the world. They would not know what a cover two defense was. They would not know how to clear out an area for a tight end. They wouldn't know. I mean, they wouldn't know X's and O's, So what is the point? I mean, that would be like somebody coming to me and showing me a scientific equation for why a smart bomb was going to work. And they said, we're just clearing this with you, Mark. And it's like, okay, I'm good with that. I mean, if you don't know, what are you looking at? Am I missing something here?
They're going to show the
Well, we
game
know
plan to
Haslam-
Jimmy. And then afterwards they'll say, right side up, sir.
Yeah, I'm just totally lost about this.
Well, we know Haslam did not learn from Rooney, and staying away from things football related.
Who, Mickey?
Andy.
Let's go out there and have a show.
No, but you never hear him talk about football. You never see him in football activities. But I guess Haslam wants to be Jerry Jones.
And what is De Podesta? You know, I'm looking at this game plan right here.
I don't know.
Got-
I don't know
He
what.
knows physics. He's really good at physics.
I don't know which guy De Podesta reminds me more of, Peter Lorre or oh shit! I just had that guy's name. Oh, never mind.
I thought he was going to
Okay.
say Peter North. I was going to be like, where are you taking this, Brian?
No, he's like a
Peter
little usually
North.
guy.
Probably knows the way to San Jose.
No, actually, Andrew Barry reminds me of Peter North because he keeps coming and coming. No, it's
Could the Browns hire the Astros GM? He's not suspended from football, right?
But you know
He knows
that was actually an article on Cleveland.com. Hey, try Browns fans. Would you embrace a title even if you cheated to get it? It's like, is this what we're down to? Can't be. It just can't be like this.
The sad part is the Browns would steal signs and they'd still lose. I mean, what?
That wouldn't that be the case? I mean,
Maybe,
you know,
maybe they ran out of Irish football fans to interview.
yeah, we give the plays to our coach. They blow off of his clip across the 50-yard line into the hands of the other team and say, "Hey, that's our game plan." You know, it's I don't know. I'm lost. I can understand why maybe they want to learn about football game planning, but I mean, what are they going to say? Well, these scripted plays here, I got to tell you, I think we'd be better off with a Statue of Liberty play. I mean, I'm just lost. I want that Statue of Liberty. Woo! I want that play. Woo! I want that play somewhere in the first 20. Woo!
Jimmy always kept talking about, he always used the word alignment. Like what, we're a fucking Jiffy Lube or what?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, isn't that what communist regimes rely upon? I mean, am I wrong about any of this? I mean, it's kind of like, when was the last time a guy in the Politburo said, no, Putin. No. You're going too far this time, Bucky. That's just, this is, or Idi Amin, Mr. Amin, you're doing the wrong thing.
Get in the pot.
But he tasted lovely with a nice Chianti.
Yeah, I don't understand what alignment is. Yes, man, and it's no different than Apple fanboys, or I hate to say Trump fanboys, because I'm not going to start a political argument, but it's people who blindly, and they don't have a reason. If you have a reason, that's okay. But if you're stumped, when somebody really presses, like, so what is it about Adolf Hitler that you feel is healing the wounds of Germany? If you don't have a logical answer to that question, yet you're supporting him, then you're a yes man. And alignment doesn't mean a damn thing to me. What makes sense is the ability to constructively work together, because that's how progress is done. And we talk about bipartisan, presidents who worked on a bipartisan basis, and that during the Depression, Franklin Roosevelt worked on a bipartisan basis because the country was in such a shitter. They had to get their heads together and do something together. That's the sign of progress. Alignment is the sign that we're going in one direction. And when that one direction doesn't work, do you think those guys, whether it's Andrew Barry or whoever it might be, along with De Podesta and Haslam, you think they're going to give up the reins? I mean, do you think, honestly, had Hitler not blown his own brains out in a bunker, do you think that the result of the Second World War, that Hitler would have said, okay, I was wrong about the Jews? What do you expect? Do you think that he was going to turn over a new leaf and go, I am going to open a new Jewish center in Munich. And that way people will come for miles around to play basketball. Jews who can't jump. You know, it never happens that way. They're not going to give up the reins. They're going to keep bringing in new people, and they're going to jam that system up people's asses, and it's not going to work because they're the ones who are implementing it. Maybe analytics isn't the worst thing, but you know something? If it's Corky from Life Goes On, you know, if that's what's implementing the analytics, you got a real problem on your hands.
So, Schefter's reporting it's a 5-year contract with Stefanski.
5 years?
5-year deal.
He'll work 2 and get paid for 5? Sounds good.
I mean,
No, I think he'll be on the Hugh Jackson plan. He'll get 3 years and then a 2-year vacation.
Oh, okay.
you
Paid,
know what this,
all expenses paid.
Oh, so he's going to have to earn it, huh?
you know what it's like? It's like that Josh McDaniels. You know, I think we need sweeping changes in the organization. Don't let the door hit you in the ass, Josh.
Yeah, here's a broom.
But you know what his thing is? And I want to explain this to our viewers. If there's one thing you take away from this show, take this away. Josh McDaniels had a number of interviews that were canceled. Why do you think teams canceled his interviews?
Because he wants to run the show.
He wants control.
You know, I don't think so. I have a better theory. I think teams in the league are sick and tired of being spied on by the Patriots, and I think that was the only fucking reason that Josh McDaniels was out there so-called available. He comes into a meeting where he knows the owner and DePodesta are sitting there and goes, sweeping changes. He just wanted to it's like a fucking troll. He wants to find out, how bad is it in Cleveland? And he wants to report back to Robert Kraft in between she-bops, you know? That's it. That's the reason why he was there. He wasn't going to take a job anywhere. The other teams were smart enough to realize that. They needed coaches. They didn't even consider him. He's a fucking spy. That whole organization is nothing but a crooked organization. And I think that's kind of how you get a feel for what's going on. If you could get him into 3 or 4, interviews and get a feel for what teams were looking for, hey, you can report that right back to Belichick and Kraft. I really believe that's 90% of it. As far as, the sweeping changes, that's ridiculous. Sweeping changes, how much sweeping change can there be when the owner is the owner is the owner? How many times have you gone by a restaurant that says, no, under new management, but it's the same owner? And the food still sucks, the service still sucks, and the prices are too high. But there's a new manager there. It's bullshit. So 5 years, and I get the feeling that nobody wants to come to Cleveland. They had to tempt whoever they could get in. I think everybody else said, fuck you. I don't think anybody else wanted the job. I don't think Saleh wanted the job. I really don't. I don't think anyone wants it. I think that's how you end up with Pat Shurmur and Stefanski and Chudzinski. Oh, too many skis. Way too many skis. Maybe I should have called him Pat Shurmur ski. Hugh Jackson ski.
Mike Pettinski.
Pettinski's a good one, yeah.
Also,
Well, I
don't
really
you have to
think
look
you-
at?
Say what, Jake?
Also, you have to look at the idea that he bailed on Indy. So who's going to trust him? And are they going to say, screw you, we're not going to give you a chance? You had your chance, you turned it down. After having those assistants leave, you lost their job for them, made them move their families. Screw you, we can't hire you. We can't trust you, we can't trust you'll take care of your assistants.
How many of you found yourself just staring at the TV in awe when Mingo blocked the punt? It's like Mingo couldn't run in a straight line for this team. And not only that, But then you're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're just protecting Mahomes just like he's, the most important thing in the world, which to them he is. And two of them, Ryder and Mitchell Schwartz, were Cleveland Browns. And we have no offensive linemen. We're the great gift that keeps giving. Did Ryder even play
They have one
in
of ours.
Cleveland?
They have Schwartz, right?
Yeah, Mitchell Schwartz, yeah.
Yeah.
But did Ryder even play in Cleveland? Now, I noticed that Cam Irving's not on the field there. No, he may have been. He may have been in the stands watching, but he didn't actually play that I saw. But still, I was looking at all the teams, because everyone was talking Duke Johnson this, and fuck Duke Johnson, he's an average guy. But, and Carlos Hyde, he was there, okay, and he had a banner season. And I was just looking at the names that would just, and you don't see all the names. I do want to give credit to one guy, though, and the linebacker for the Chiefs, Frank Clark. What a motor on that guy. Don't even talk to me about Schobert. Don't even talk to me about Joe Schobert. This guy, did you see the play where he kept chasing the quarterback and chasing the quarterback and chasing the quarterback, and he finally got him? He was stepped away from, like, on 3 occasions, and he still ran the guy down. Guy's got an incredible motor. And that's all about effort. All about effort. It's,
The team website has Kevin Stefanski arrives in Cleveland. And that's from about 3 minutes ago. Posted to YouTube.
yeah.
Great.
A crowd of 3
Great.
watched.
There is one media member, Mary Kay Cabot. That's it.
No, from the camera view, I would say it's probably the team guys like Nick Shook, and I'm sure Zagura's out there fucking licking his ass crack.
Jovan, is there a time schedule for the press conference? The analytics guys are going over this, and they've been presented with.
They're synchronizing your watches right now.
I'm just going to start this early, folks. And Mark, you're absolutely right. Haslam will have no excuse this time because this is exactly what he wants, right? So, I don't know. It's all horse shit. That's what it is. It's all a big shit show. And of course, you can't. People are asking, what can we do? As fans, what can we do? And the answer is nothing. You can not buy tickets, you can not watch the games, you can not buy team merchandise, and he'll still move the team like Modell did. He's going to be, unless he gets caught doing something heinous, he's the owner forever. So get off the bandwagon, get off the team, do whatever you want to do, but it isn't going to change anything, just as long as you know. And I know that fans can be heartbroken, all right? I really should put a link up. Did anybody see, Tony, you saw Steven's YouTube video.
Oh man, yeah. Steven.
Which one?
Wait, the one last year after the Texans lost, or is there another one?
No, there's a new
There's
one.
a new one.
There's a new one? Oh,
Leave
okay.
Britney alone! Yeah. Oh my
He's not on a bridge or anything, is he?
No.
Steven is deleting it as we speak. He's deleting it as we speak.
Who is?
Steven. If it's anything like last year, he'll just pull it before he can.
Oh no, it's the worst thing I ever saw in my life.
Oh, really? Yesterday?
For posterity, I will do this for you because I don't have the link. Tony, if you have the link, put it up in the chat. It is. And what it is an example of is...
I've lost that. I've filed that out of my mind. I don't want to relive it.
It was burned
There's
into your
another
brain.
one where he claims he's the GOAT, and I
over and over again.
And
he's drank a bottle
of
of Jack Daniels. Okay, he's completely drunk, and he
It's-
is unfortunately claiming.
I mean-
and I'll do it in the best way. I am the goat. I am the goat. Okay, it's,
It is better than the like $4 wine he had last year from a Coke glass.
I want to say something because I love all my panelists. I love all of my panelists. And Brittany, I know you watch the show, and I know you know him. Get some help for this fella. I like Steven. He's a good guy, but man, that's too hard, man. That was hard for me to watch. And
hard liquor and village idiots don't go together.
well, I'm not.
Yeah, I could just see the thumbnail. This won't be good. The first one, the thumbnail just makes this.
Look, I mean, it may be funny to watch one time, but when you really think about it, from a fan perspective, I guess the point is there's nothing fans can do, okay, about this stuff. You either choose to cheer for the team or you choose to do a show like I do and deal with it in a way that you remain clean, sober, and healthy. I can honestly say that my health is better since the Browns went 1-31, and then the last 2 years, my health is far better. I'm losing weight, my vitals are better, and I forget about the game right after it's played, and I get to talk about it on the air as part of talk therapy, and it's a wonderful thing. But y'all have to figure out what you're going to do with it. But don't think you're going to change the outcome of this, or that you're going to change what the ownership does. You can't sway them. They'll just move the team. If the fans get sick of them, then Cleveland doesn't need a football team. They'll move it someplace else. That's kind of the way it works. So,
Can
and
we
you're not
move
going
Jimmy
get
to
in the cell either.
Guantanamo now?
Say what?
Can we move Jimmy to Guantanamo now?
Yeah. Little TYG, it is. It's humanly possible to suck this bad forever. Yes, it is. And this is proof. I mean, 20 years might as well be forever. I mean, if... And you know what really bothered me about the article in Cleveland.com? It's like, all right, Indians and Browns fans, if we cheated to get a title, would you still embrace it? It's like, I don't have to worry about that. LeBron legitimately won a title. I don't care what sport it is. And this whole thing is, but I'm an Indians fan and I'm waiting for the World Series. Or, I'm a Browns fan and I'm waiting for the Super Bowl. It's like, be a Cleveland sports fan and just be happy you got a fucking title. 1 in 52 years, quit your whining. And it was on the road against a team that was supposed to win. It had an exciting, down to the last gasp ending to it, and it ended up happy for a change for us. Be happy you saw that. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to cheat to get a title. Come on. But yeah, it's easily
You went frozen.
possible. I was frozen?
Or is it me?
You didn't freeze for me.
No,
No,
I
you're-
didn't
you're
freeze.
fine.
No.
That was weird. Everybody froze for a second.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that was just me or everybody did that.
I think that was just you.
Oh, great.
And then there's always this. And see, this again, it's not going to hurt anybody. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't be seen in public with that. I'm afraid they'd throw eggs at me. I would be publicly humiliated. I'd be excoriated publicly. I would not wear that. And if somebody says, I already told you I'm off the I'm not a fan. I'm bemused at this point because, I was corresponding with Dustin Fox because he was, telling all this shit. And I said, I would have thought that year 16 of this podcast that, I would be in a better position. I'd be happier and, there'd be more pleasant, upbeat, positive shows. But, I have to look at this as the silver lining. I can continue to be the same obnoxious cow that I've been for 16 years. This cow act never runs thin because when it's talking about the Cleveland Browns and Cleveland sports, let's be honest about it. There's nothing but sarcasm. There's nothing but anger. There's nothing but pain and wound. And the cow is the perfect one to express that common rage amongst all fans. You know?
And the material is never ending.
It's Krusty the Moo.
Material never
Inside
ending.
Joe Bob.
We have the Cleveland Haslams, the Cleveland Dolans, and the Cleveland Gilberts. That's the holy trinity, you know? The only thing we can say is, A, Gilbert has a title. Of course, LeBron does. He has more than one. And the Gilberts... No, I'm not. No. Should I? Is the cow character? Should I?
Might as well.
It's your show.
No.
Smash his
Should I?
testicles like a coconut.
Let's see if we can align our answers here.
I don't know. I can't even say that.
Well, the square root of 94 is 14, which means...
Yeah.
You've got too much time on your hands.
Yeah.
But, well, you know, ownership is a big part of the sports thing. And the less you see of the owner, I guess,
Tommy
or
Shaw
hear from
song.
the less you hear from these guys, the better off you are. Let the pros do what the pros do. But when you start hiring people with no experience, then you are the ones, the owners are the ones who run the show. And that's, you know, the reason that Jerry Jones kept, Leif Garrett for so many years, 10 years, you know. Can anybody name a single song that Leif Garrett sang? You know, I can.
I'm going to defer to Roxanne on this one.
I was made for dancing all night long. Yeah.
And then you have the car crashing sound in the background.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that Leif Garrett at 16 would become a complete heroin addict, but it's actually, I thought it was really an improvement. You know? It made him somehow more real to me. You know,
Well, you got to have goals.
fuck the hair, fuck the makeup, fuck starring in, you know, when you were a child and Walking Tall. Fuck that shit. I'm on smack. That's what I'm all about. And you'd be depressed too if you lost all your fucking hair and that's all you had to begin with. How many
And you
bald
almost
Leif
killed your
Garretts
best
would-
friend while driving high.
No, yeah, but I mean, how many tiger beats would he have made with a, you know, without the locks, you know, or the bagels? I'm just trying to. Okay, here's Derek Frisbee. Call me crazy,
You're crazy.
but I think if he gets an experienced head coach as an assistant or something, you know.
Hopefully, Kubiak.
What experienced head coach is going to be an assistant to Kevin Stefanski? Here you go, buddy.
The only one that's there is Wilkes.
I mean, because he was an assistant to Brad Childress. You think you could call Brad up and go, "Hey, Brad, you know, you could do me a solid here." Turnabout is fair play. How does everyone think Stefanski will deal with the personalities? It's the analytics people who will. If you have
There won't be any personalities left.
Yeah.
By June, all of the major personalities will be gone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's going to be part of the decision-making process. I mean, how do you think they came up with the final solution in Germany? I hate to keep bringing this up for my Jewish viewers, but how do you think they came up with the lucky 6 million plan, you know? This is just a scorched earth policy, that's all, and that's what this will be. It's like part of analytics says if they don't go along with what Jimmy Haslam wants, they're out of a job. And we'll get rid of them for a pitcher of Kool-Aid. You know, they don't give a shit.
And
So-
a stale, half-eaten sandwich.
Yeah, Stefanski is not going to be respected by guys who are risking life and limb. And the second you get the backward pitch on 4th and goal, you know, everyone's going to jump ship. It just takes one bad call, one, or if you start seeing penalties, or if you start seeing, timeouts being called because we're not lined up properly or in time, or if you see him going for 2 instead of 1 or 1 instead of 2, all of it. It's going to be, everyone's going to be very vigilant, keeping an eye on this guy. So it's all going to be reported immediately.
And I have a feeling that Baker's going to end up getting traded to the Chargers to replace Phillip Rivers.
Kevin, I agree with you, General Dog. We're going to let the guy coach because that's his job. It isn't Kevin Stefanski. You see, he's got a 5-year deal. Kevin Stefanski's going to get paid as a head coach for 5 years. It's Haslam that I have the problem with. And he hires the worst possible inexperienced people, and he gets the same result over and over again. It's insanity. That's the definition of insanity. So I'm going to let the guy coach as many games as he wants to coach. I put up with Romeo Crennel for 4 fucking years. I put up with Hugh Jackson for 2 years. It's just more great fodder for my program. This is kind of like... I got an easier right than Larry David does for Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he only does a show every 3 years. I get fresh material every week. I don't have any problem with the guy coaching as many games as he wants to coach. He's not qualified. He is just... What are you laughing at?
Jake.
What were you doing there, Jake?
Act of levitation, I think.
No. The cat is literally climbing on me and scratching me, so I'm trying to get him to stay on the ground.
Performing magic there, I think. I don't know. Wow.
It was the perfect analogy for Jimmy Haslam and
It is. No, it is. No. Okay. Is this your game plan? Is this your game plan? That would be it.
Jump.
Yeah.
Higher, Kevin. Higher.
Let's try the triple option this week. I think it'll work.
Yeah.
Bad run defense.
Yeah,
Army Navy does it.
I was intrigued by Solak, Kevin. I really was. But again, then it would have been the issue regarding alignment that would not have worked for his hire. They were never going to hire him. And then there would be the question of who would be the offensive coordinator, et cetera. And then there would be, well, gosh, they hired a defensive coach. They better bring in an experienced offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield. So, but I can't disagree. I think of the guys whose names, I think I was curious about him, and I was curious about Jim Schwartz, who just has disappeared into the woodwork and is a very viable defensive coordinator, but he's already got a job doing that. So, it's, I have no, it's not that I have a problem with Stefanski. No more than, like I said about Freddie Kitchens. I had no problem with Kitchens accepting the job, even though he had no reason to get the job.
Right.
What bothered me is that he became non-delegatory and he became hostile, and he abused his power, and he was allowed to abuse his power. That's what bothered me specifically about Freddie Kitchens. Stefanski, this is the only way he's going to get a head coaching job. The guy was in Minnesota for what, 14 years, Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah. Going nowhere real fast that way. He's not going to be named the head coach. I know he was sitting around waiting for Zimmer to get fired. I know a lot of Minnesota fans who were waiting for that to happen too.
Yep.
And it will happen next year, but they'll bring somebody else in. But I don't blame Stefanski for taking the job. But the hell, it's a great opportunity for him. But it is kind of like just hoping you're going to, stick in your thumb and pull out a plum. There's no evidence that this guy can be a head coach in the NFL. And if it turns out the way it's turned out every year for the last 20 years for the organization, we're all going to sit there and let him coach, and then he'll have the runaway train, or he'll spy on his own players, or, he'll jump in the lake or do whatever, because they all fall apart. Or like Freddie, you'll start calling erratic shovel passes, whatever. If the job's too big for him, it's going to be painfully apparent very quickly. I don't want to rush him there, but he doesn't deserve the job. He's not qualified. That's all. Daniel's saying they wanted to hire a coach yesterday. Well, one game does not, I think, first of all, San Francisco, and even Tony would admit, they're a far better team than Minnesota, right, Tony?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Dominated.
And they have a system that they've been using, and and they have weapons on the ground game. They're a hard team to play. What's true is true. As far as the offense, you knew that Cousins won a big game, but that wasn't going to continue for long because they were fortunate to make it into the playoffs. And fans should be happy in Minnesota that they at least made the playoffs. But the results of that game is not a referendum on the neither Saleh nor Stefanski are qualified to be head coaches in the NFL. That's what it comes down to. And it isn't like Saleh and Stefanski were arm wrestling, for God's sakes, and it's not like they were having strategic tests from the analytics team. It's not like that. It's that Saleh had a much better team, a much better board, as they would say in chess, to play. He had the right pieces in the right position, and the Vikings were the Vikings. I mean, they were, they were a bottom playoff team, and they played down to that. They couldn't get it done. I got nothing bad to say about the Vikings. They got to the playoffs. It's more than a lot of people expected them to do. But I don't believe that you can say Saleh would make a better head coach just because he held Stefanski's offense to zippity-doo-dah. I don't think you can say that. I mean, you got to look at what Stefanski had to work with, and it starts with Kirk Cousins, and that guy hasn't beaten good teams his whole fucking career. His record against teams with above 500 records is hideous. Those are just the facts. So, no, the Browns are not still paying Shermer, and Shermer's now going to Denver. And, it makes you really wonder about John Elway. It's like, there's a real offensive genius. Guy swallowed way too many flies. Fucking horse
I don't
mouth.
know why he swallowed the fly.
I hope he dies. Yeah. John Elway. Yeah, there's a genius for you. There's a guy who just, yeah, boy. Yeah, I'm going to bring Shermer in as my offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, somewhere.
Kind of sad that was. It's kind of sad that was Boland's last hire too. John Elway.
Yeah. The other thing that's really sad about the whole thing there is that, the original Shanahan must be cringing. Must be cringing at the thought of Pat Shermer, the kumquat. Standing there, fucking lobotomized. Unbelievable. Well, at least General Dog and I do agree on this.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
My dad always called him Mr. Ed.
Da-dun, da-da-da-da-da. My boss is a jerk, of course. Yeah.
It's almost hard to believe he graduated from Stanford.
Yeah, that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Stanford's a good school. I can't imagine. Yeah. The guy's the worst general manager I've ever seen. What is it, Tony?
Browns to interview Wade Phillips per Pro Football Talk.
Well, I mean, you know what will happen? The analytics guy are going to tell Jimmy, it's like, we're looking at actuarial tables, and he is 72. I mean, I'm just thinking that this is going to creep into every decision they make, you know? And, is Wade Phillips, I mean, did Wade Phillips ever become a head coach?
Yes,
Cowboys.
multiple times.
He was
the
not.
head coach.
Yeah, most notably Cowboys with Romo. After Parcells did not work out very well.
All right. Yeah. Well, so I mean, he can at least say that he roamed the sidelines once as a dinosaur back in the Paleozoic era. Yeah, but I mean, that would be somebody that at least it would somewhat make sense. But I mean, is he really? How familiar is he with the new schemes of offensively in the NFL? I don't know. 72-year-old guy, you just don't know.
I mean, his defense was not good enough to stop anybody with Aaron Donald. So when you can't stop people with the Rams' talent, I don't know.
He comes in the interview with his abacus and Etch-a-Sketch, he's probably screwed. This is a set of stairs.
I Pythagorean all over the toilet bowl.
They've got medicine for that now.
What was the name of the knot? I was trying to think of that.
The Gorgian knot.
Yeah.
Right, the Gorgian knot, the knot that cannot be untied, right?
Yes.
Yes. That is, how's that for, I could be, I was just talking to somebody today, and that we'll bring the black cow of death in because I want to do an over-under on Alex Trebek.
Drummers of famous rock bands, beware. I'm looking at you, Tommy Lee.
No. I mean, the Black Cow of Death called April as the over-under for Alex Trebek. Anybody want to take him up on that? It's like, what is April 15th?
I'll take 1 foot in the grave for 200, Alex.
I was telling somebody today, I thought it was a great idea. People are saying, how can Jeopardy go on without Alex Trebek? And I think the answer is taxidermy.
No, but another Jeopardy question. What do you think of that James guy not wearing a suit on the last episode of Jeopardy? It was a big deal that he didn't respect the dress code and he wore his own thing.
And what did that mean, supposedly?
You should have respected Alex Trebek's last few shows. You don't know how many more he has, and he didn't even dress up for it.
Oh, really?
The Champions one, yeah.
Does somebody want to take a quick jump out so General Dog can get on the air and give his spiel?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go.
All right, thanks, Brian. I appreciate it, and that way I can pop this guy in. And wait a minute, where are we? Okay, there we are. All right, General Dog, you with us?
Yes.
Okay, so what? Speak your piece, my man.
I'm so glad it wasn't Josh McDaniels, as I said in the chat, because, the year after he got fired from the Broncos, the following year, he goes to St. Louis and runs that offense right into the ground. I mean, they were among the last 10 teams in the league on offense. I mean, without Brady and Belichick, that guy sucks.
Yeah,
His stop in St. Louis just proves that perfectly to me.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that we were going to end up with a good head coach anyway? I mean, really, with the reputation of the organization, the only people, it seems to me, who would take a job are people who want to become first-time head coaches, so at least they can become part of the secret handshake society, make a couple millions of dollars, and if they never become a head coach again, they can always become an assistant again. There's no downside for Kevin Stefanski, but for anyone else who really, who's already been a coach, I mean, a guy like Jim Schwartz, we'll use him as an example. He had one shot, and that was in Detroit, which is a bad place. And if you're going to Cleveland, that's the end. 2 strikes, you're out. All right? It's done.
Yeah.
So who are you going to get?
Well, it came out that last year was all about John Dorsey getting his yes guy, and that's what he got in Freddie Kitchens.
It appears so.
And then it was all about somebody that John Dorsey could control and not try to get him in a power struggle, which is what John Dorsey has seen a couple of times, especially when getting him fired in Kansas City, where Andy Reid was given all the power.
Well,
So
Amsterdam's asking a question, General Dog, and I'm sure a few of the panelists will have something to say about it. With the 10th pick, will the Browns try to trade up? Will they stand pat? And any predictions what they go for? What position? We'll go through the panel real quick, and we'll start
Offensive
with who said that?
Offensive line.
Okay, offensive lineman, General Dog says, and Rick.
I saw a mock draft from a site called Fansided. They've got Cleveland taking an offensive tackle from Iowa, Tristan Wirfs.
Yep.
WIRFS.
All right. Tony the Calf.
I'm just gonna pass because I don't fucking know. I mean,
That's a fair answer. Then you and
it's
Rux could be
it's
dancing together.
It's January 13th. Like I hate draft talk this early. Can we just let the season die for a couple of days before we dig into the? Oh, what are they going to do at the 13th or the 10th pick for countless days on end? Fuck.
Rox can't wait to give her answer.
Yeah, go ahead, Rux.
My answer is I do not have a prediction. I don't know.
There we go.
So that dance was absolutely pointless. Thank you for wasting my camera time. Get off. All right, Jake, what do you think?
I think they stand pat or slightly trade back and go for more picks and just load up on O-line or linebacker. And
I'm with
their
that
first
plan.
pick will be a tackle.
Yep.
Well, if history recites anything, they could probably draft Topaz the fucking Wolf and probably get better production than some of the draft picks
Hey,
they've gotten.
keep
So.
Topaz out of this. He's more easily trained than a lot of these players. I mean, again, you can see that some of these offensive linemen, I don't remember that Mitchell Schwartz was a top 10 draft pick, nor was Austin Reiter. And I really don't think that a lot of the players who were starting on offensive lines throughout the NFL were top picks. I really don't, offensive line, we need more than one. And that, by the way, that is Topaz the Wolf, and that's what you did.
I woke her up. I woke him
Mitchell
up.
Schwartz
Him.
was a second round pick.
He has a dick. Jeez. Yeah.
I mean, we
So-
took Cam Irving very early. He was a bust. The year before
Yeah.
that, Fisher was a bust at number 1. I mean,
That's true.
yeah, O-linemen are hard to draft, so I would not go all in for one guy and trade up for any reason. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, and an offensive line, you're going to get people in the second, third, or fourth round that you might find available. One thing I can tell you is that the Browns are not going to be looking at wide receivers that high, nor running backs. And I can see linebackers, depending on what the scheme is, if it's 4-3 or whatever it is, that Christian Kirksey cannot be counted on to play more than a few games. So I could see that possibly happening in linebacker and defensive secondary where we were injured throughout last year. So I don't know. I mean, it is imperative, though, that we have a better offensive line. It is imperative that if we're going to salvage Baker Mayfield, we've got to protect him. And if anything, I mean, before we get out of here, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the games that were played. I mean, for God's sakes, I want to mention the Ravens because of this whole Lamar Jackson thing. And, this is unfortunately, I don't know. Marlon Humphreys opened up, Pandora's box. But how can you say that your team's a choking team after 2 years? And how are you going to put your young quarterback into that position? And again, the 2 losses that I witnessed of Lamar Jackson's were identical. They fell behind by massive amounts of points, and Greg Roman's offense is not designed to do anything but for him to throw to tight ends and to running backs.
Greg Roman is a product of Lamar Jackson.
Say what?
Greg Roman's a product of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. And Lamar Jackson's a remarkable athlete, but they figured out a way to stop that sweep that he runs off the option, and they took the edge away from him. And
the only reason he got an interview. That's the only reason he got an interview. Is because Baltimore had such a remarkable season that they gave Greg Roman an interview, just as a courtesy.
Well, what I noticed with that game was he was able to run. He could run whenever he wants, but they were not letting him get out of bounds. They were making sure he stayed in bounds and got hit.
Yep.
They gave the extra 7-8 yards, but you were going to hit him. You were not going to let him run out of bounds easily. Make him go into somebody, make him slide, and make him feel like he can actually get hurt. So,
but you saw
they didn't care about yards. Yeah, they didn't care about the yards. They just said keep him in bounds and hit him.
Once he had thrown the ball downfield, did you see the flutter on those passes?
Ooh.
This was not pretty, and it's one thing when you have this great running game and you can suck teams into man-to-man coverage, then hit the big strike downfield. But it's altogether different when you're in a situation where your offensive coordinator calls 39 passes in the second half of the football game. He cannot do that. Most quarterbacks cannot do that, but Lamar Jackson can't be expected to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Lamar Jackson was not nearly the first quarterback taken in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, he is a unique talent, and they've carved out a game plan. If the league were to figure out how to stop that game plan the way that they were stopped, by the Titans, then there's a real problem here. Because, honest to God, what I will tell you is this. The ball was coming ugly out of his hand. He was having what I would call minor temper tantrums on the field and on the bench. There was sheer panic on the sidelines. If you're happy with Harbaugh as coach, I'm happy too, because the team was in disarray. There were people yelling and screaming on the sidelines. It was not a good situation. And then, of course, you have Marlon Humphreys capping it all off post-game. A bad situation all the way around, but you cannot put somebody in a position, we saw this with Baker as well, where they throw the ball that many times in a second half and the entire running game gets turfed. And then the predictability factor, they don't have that kind of wide receiver group. And they just made sure that the tight ends were covered and everything was contested. The out pass that he threw that was intercepted by, I forget the guy's name, guy who'd only intercepted one pass in the last God knows how many years.
Vaccaro or
Vaccaro.
Kenny, I think.
Brenda.
Yeah, real deep voice.
Yeah.
No.
And I would like to comment on this too. That's a good defense in Tennessee. They've played well all year. They have no Pro Bowlers and no stars. It does not take all the talent in the world to play good defense.
No.
Just get a system and discipline.
Teamwork.
Yeah. But that game, and then you have, the source of Stevens' frustration, 24-0, and then you're down 41-24. And what it tells you is who came up with the scheme. Because if you think you're going to stay with Kelsey and their wide receivers with Tyreek Hill for a long time in the pattern, when the quarterback's just standing back there eating a sandwich, waiting for somebody to come open, I don't know what they're thinking was in this. I mean, without pressuring the quarterback at all, or even trying to pressure the quarterback, I mean, they might as well have just started constructing Mahomes' bust for the Hall of Fame because, honestly, he had all the time in the world to pick and choose people over the middle of the field. And it was, and when they went for it on fourth down and got, the guy made that good one-on-one tackle outside, and they were ahead at the time, I want to say 24-7. And it's like, so at that point, they had three and outs basically, and they got a touchdown. And instead of punting them deep, you go for it, give up the short field, and then it's 24-14. All the air came out of the tires, and the players looked like they were panic-stricken. And I don't know what kind of call that is either. You don't have very much faith in your defense, and he turned out to be right. But whoever came up with that game plan should go to the Browns analytics department. Or maybe it came from the Browns analytics department, but that was horrible to watch. I mean, I swear to God, I thought it was flag football. Some of those plays where they just ran sweeps, I mean, it was like flag football. I've never seen anything like guy running. He was trotting down the sidelines untouched, trotting. And I'm tired of this. Well, they had to play an extra game. They're tired. Fuck that shit. Professional athletes. I don't want to hear that shit.
When Lamar Jackson eventually, and this is eventually going to happen, where he gets a leg broken or a tendon tear or an ACL tear or something, somebody down the line is going to ring his bell really good running around like that, and you're gonna find out that he's not all that in a box of chocolates. Nope.
Yeah. And the Seahawks had their opportunity with the Packers. Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks can't walk away from that saying that they didn't try, they didn't give it their best. 5 minutes left, they have the ball to win the football game, and they just didn't get it done. But it was an entertaining game, all right? I don't think the Texans and the Chiefs, I mean, that was all demoralized. And they're calling for O'Brien's head in Texas. I know Steven is.
Somebody said every one of all 7 of Kansas City's touchdowns, the drives, each one took less than 4 minutes to run.
Oh.
Yeah, it was 7 in a row. And then finally the other one stalled at like the 4-yard line. I mean, I don't know. There was no defensive game planning, that's for damn sure. So, I don't see D-Bag here, and I feel badly about that. Was he on the mini show yesterday? I didn't see D-Bag on there. Brian?
Saw one of his quotes yesterday, but I only saw one. So he may have just been there briefly and left.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him at all tonight.
A lot of disappointment, and look, I mean, again, that season y'all had 14-2 is a great season, and I wouldn't be ready to call the young man a choker. I think that's really unfortunate. The quarterback gets too much credit, too much blame. But what it tells me is the roster's not complete in Baltimore. The coaching staff's not complete and didn't have control of the situation. The coach didn't have control of the sideline. And Greg Roman is a one-trick pony. And that pony is healthy today. But he better pray to the baby Jesus that pony stays healthy, because there ain't nothing behind it. There ain't nothing behind it, And I'll agree with this. Vince Young was a choker, not Lamar. And I think Lamar wanted to win. I think he was frustrated. And I think that all it takes is a bad game. And like I said, they played a bad game. It was the same thing that happened with Cleveland. They fell behind, then the turnovers. You see, they were not turning the ball over at all. I told you all the bounces were going their way earlier in the season, but in the playoffs, it's a one-game season. And if it hits you like that, you're not going to recover from interceptions, 2 picks, and a fumble. Can't overcome it. And especially when you're playing a team that's geared up defensively. That's just the way it works.
Don't know if Ingram would have made that much of a difference yesterday or not.
No, I mean, I think they were just playing more physically. They were playing harder. They were more prepared. And Baltimore, for whatever reason, whether they hadn't, maybe they took some extra time off. I don't know what the deal was, but they didn't come out of the chutes ready to play. And it's just, we've lost sight of that in Cleveland. We don't get to the playoffs, right? But the fact of the matter is, one quarter can doom you.
You know, I don't ask for much. All right, I don't ask for much. I don't ask for the Super Bowl or the world or anything like that. All I want is for our team to show and play respectable games. Come out prepared and play a respectable game every game. Is that so? I mean, I don't know how hard that is to be. I'll settle. We don't even need great coaching. We just need good, solid, fundamental coaching. I'll be happy with that. Not this disappointing year after year after year like we're having.
I agree with you. I mean, if I felt that it was being run well, that would be one thing, but it's obviously not. But with this owner, maybe it can't be. At any rate, 15 minutes of bonus Moohead you got today, and I'm done with saying everything I need to say. We're going to see who our defensive coordinator and who the missing pieces are by Friday's show. We'll be talking about it, and hopefully... And if you don't hear it from me, you'll hear it from Crazy Dog in one of his 16 broadcasts over the next 3 days. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I couldn't help but do that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. I appreciate all your support, and we'll talk again on Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
Moo.